I refused to move out so my pregnant sister's boyfriend could have my room. My parents threw me out, and I exposed their years of favoritism online. Now they're facing the consequences. I, 16 female, have always felt like an outsider in my own family. For as long as I can remember, my parents, 48 male, 46 female, have shown a clear preference for my older sister Lily, 22 female. Growing up, I tried everything I could think of to earn their approval and attention, but nothing ever seemed to be enough. From an early age, the difference in how we were treated was stark. When Lily learned to ride a bike at 6, my parents threw a party and invited the whole neighborhood. When I accomplished the same feat a year later, I got a distracted good job from my mom while she was busy on the phone. This pattern continued throughout our childhoods. I vividly remember my 10th birthday. I'd been hinting for weeks that I wanted a particular art set. When the day came, my parents completely forgot. They scrambled to get me a last-minute card and some cash. Just 2 months later, they spent weeks planning an elaborate surprise party for Lily's 16th, complete with a DJ and catered food. As we got older, the favoritism only became more pronounced. Lily's room was constantly being redecorated and upgraded with the latest gadgets. Meanwhile, I was still using the same worn furniture from when I was a toddler. When I asked about repainting my walls, my dad said there wasn't money in the budget. A week later, they bought Lily a new laptop, just because. In middle school, I threw myself into academics and extracurriculars, hoping that if I excelled enough, they'd finally notice me. I joined the debate team, took advanced classes, and volunteered at the local animal shelter. My report cards were filled with A's. But at parent-teacher conferences, my mom would nod distractedly while my teachers praised me, then immediately ask how Lily was doing in college. High school brought new disappointments. When I made the honor roll freshman year, my parents barely glanced at the certificate. But when Lily got a B in a college course, they took the whole family out to a fancy dinner to celebrate her academic achievement. I stopped sharing my accomplishments after that. It wasn't just academics. Anytime I tried to share my interests or talk about my day, my parents would give a few distracted nods before changing the subject to Lily. Family dinners became an exercise in invisibility. I'd sit there silently while my parents hung on Lily's every word, dissecting her latest college adventure or relationship drama. If I tried to contribute, I'd get a few mumbled mm-hms before they turned back to Lily. The constant rejection and dismissal took its toll. I started withdrawing, spending more time in my room and less with the family. I threw myself into building a life outside the home, focusing on schoolwork, cultivating close friendships, and picking up hobbies like photography and painting. These became my escape, a way to create an identity separate from being Lily's little sister. There were moments when I thought things might change, like when I won a regional art competition at 14. For a brief moment, my parents seemed proud. They even hung my winning piece in the living room. But a week later, it was replaced by Lily's college acceptance letter in a gaudy frame. As my 16th birthday approached, I tried to temper my expectations. I knew better than to hope for anything elaborate. But I thought they'd at least acknowledge it. Maybe a card or small gift. I even dropped hints about wanting to get my driver's permit, hoping they might offer to take me to the DMV. The morning of my birthday, I came downstairs to find my parents sitting at the kitchen table with serious expressions. My heart sank, sensing bad news. But nothing could have prepared me for what came next. They informed me that Lily was 6 months pregnant. Because of this, they needed me to move out so Lily's boyfriend, Jake, 24 male, could move in to help with the baby. They wanted to convert my room into a nursery. I was stunned into silence, struggling to process their words. When I finally found my voice, all I could manage was a weak, "But where am I supposed to go?" My dad replied matter-of-factly, "We've arranged for you to live with your Aunt Sarah. We'll still cover your expenses until you're 18. The casual way he said it, like he was discussing a change in dinner plans rather than uprooting my entire life, made something snap inside me. Years of pent-up hurt and anger came pouring out. "You're kicking me out on my birthday? For Lily's boyfriend?" I demanded, my voice rising. "How can you do this to me? I'm your daughter too." My mom sighed, looking annoyed. "Don't be dramatic. This is what's best for the baby. Lily needs support right now. What about what I need?" I shot back. "I'm 16. I need my parents." My dad's expression hardened. "This isn't up for discussion. Start packing your things. We're taking you to Sarah's this afternoon." I fled to my room, slamming the door behind me. As I angrily threw clothes into a suitcase, memories flooded back. All the times I'd been ignored or dismissed in favor of Lily. The way they'd beam with pride at her achievements while barely noticing mine. How they'd drop everything for her but act inconvenienced if I needed anything. By the time I finished packing, my sadness had hardened into resolve. If this was how little I meant to them, then fine. I was done trying to earn their love. The car ride to Aunt Sarah's was tense and silent. I stared out the window, refusing to look at my parents. As we pulled up to Sarah's house, neither of them hugged me or said goodbye. They just waited for me to get out, then drove off, probably relieved to be rid of me. Aunt Sarah welcomed me warmly, which only highlighted how cold my parents had been. As we talked over tea, everything I'd been holding back came pouring out. I told her about years of feeling invisible, of trying desperately to win my parents' approval only to be constantly overlooked. Sarah listened with growing horror. "I had no idea things were so bad," she said, hugging me tightly. "You poor thing. You don't deserve any of this. It felt amazing to finally have someone validate my feelings after years of gaslighting from my parents. Sarah assured me I could stay with her as long as I needed and promised to help me figure out next steps. That night, fueled by a mix of anger and pain, I made a lengthy post on social media detailing how my parents had kicked me out. I knew it would cause drama, but I was past caring. Why should I protect people who clearly didn't care about me? The post blew up quickly. Extended family members I barely knew were messaging me with support and outrage on my behalf. Friends were offering places to stay. My parents' phones were blowing up with angry calls and texts. My parents showed up at Aunt Sarah's the next day, livid. They demanded I take down the post and come home immediately. Apparently, my grandparents had threatened to cut them out of their will if they didn't fix things with me. I refused. You made your choice, I told them coldly. You chose Lily and her boyfriend over me. You don't get to pretend to want me now just to save face. They tried guilt-tripping me, saying I was tearing the family apart. But I stood firm. With Aunt Sarah backing me up, they eventually left empty-handed. It's been a week now. I'm still processing everything, but I actually feel relieved. For the first time, I don't have to walk on eggshells or compete for scraps of attention. Aunt Sarah treats me like I matter. My parents keep trying to contact me, alternating between anger and fake niceness. I'm ignoring them for now. Lily sent me one message asking to talk, but I'm not ready for that either. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm done being the family doormat. If my parents want a relationship someday, they'll have to earn it. For now, I'm focused on healing and building a life where I'm actually valued. So Reddit, am I the asshole for refusing to move out and then exposing my parents online? Update 1. It's been about a month since my last post, and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone for their supportive comments. Your kindness really helped me feel less alone during a difficult time. Shortly after my post, my sister Lily reached out again asking to meet. I was hesitant, given our complicated history, but Aunt Sarah encouraged me to hear her out. We agreed to meet at a neutral location, a small cafe near Aunt Sarah's house. I arrived early, my stomach in knots. As I waited, memories of our childhood flooded back. Despite the age gap, Lily and I had been close when we were younger. I remembered how she'd let me play with her makeup and taught me to braid hair. But as she got older and our parents' favoritism became more pronounced, she grew distant. By the time she left for college, we were practically strangers. When Lily walked in, I was struck by how tired she looked. Her usual perfectly styled hair was in a messy bun, and she had dark circles under her eyes. She gave me a tentative smile as she sat down. "Thanks for meeting me," she said softly. "I wasn't sure you would." I shrugged, not sure how to respond. An awkward silence stretched between us until Lily took a deep breath and launched into what seemed like a prepared speech. "I owe you a massive apology," she began. "I had no idea Mom and Dad were kicking you out until after it happened. They told me they were helping you move in with Aunt Sarah because you wanted more independence. When I saw your post and found out the truth, I was horrified." She paused, looking down at her hands. "I always knew Mom and Dad favored me, but I had no idea how bad things were for you. I'm so sorry I never spoke up or tried to help." As she spoke, I felt a mix of emotions. Anger at the years of neglect, relief at finally being acknowledged, uncertainty about whether to trust her words. "Why didn't you ever say anything before?" I asked, my voice coming out sharper than intended. "You had to have noticed how they treated me." Lily looked ashamed. "Honestly, I was selfish. I liked being the favorite and didn't want to rock the boat. It was easier to pretend everything was fine." She met my eyes. "I know that's no excuse, but I want to do better now. If you'll let me." We ended up talking for hours, really opening up for the first time in years. Lily shared her own struggles with our parents' expectations and controlling behavior. While it didn't excuse her past actions, it helped me understand her better. She told me about the pressure she felt to be perfect, how our parents would withdraw affection if she didn't meet their standards. She confessed to feeling guilty about their treatment of me, but being too afraid of losing their approval to speak up. "I convinced myself that you were okay, that you didn't need me to intervene," she said, wiping away tears. "I was wrong, and I'm so sorry." Lily went on to explain that she'd moved out of our parents' house and in with her boyfriend Jake. "I couldn't stay there after what they did to you," she said. "Jake and I were planning to move in together after the baby anyway. We just accelerated our timeline." I was touched by Lily's actions but still wary. Years of disappointment had taught me to be cautious with my trust. But as we continued talking, I started to see glimpses of the sister I'd been close to as a child. By the end of our talk, we'd agreed to work on rebuilding our relationship. It won't happen overnight, but I'm cautiously optimistic. As for our parents, they're still trying to pressure me into coming home. They've enlisted flying monkeys in the form of other relatives to guilt me. But I'm standing firm with the support of Aunt Sarah and now Lily. My mom showed up at Aunt Sarah's last week, crying and begging me to come home. She tried to minimize what happened, saying they just wanted what was best for the baby and didn't realize how upset I'd be. I told her that was bullshit. They knew exactly what they were doing and only cared now because of the backlash. "You had 16 years to show me I mattered," I said, surprised by how steady my voice was. "You don't get to throw me away and then act like victims when there are consequences." She left in tears, but I refused to feel guilty. Aunt Sarah reassured me I did nothing wrong. My dad has taken a different approach, alternating between angry demands and attempts to bribe me with promises of cars, vacations, etc. I'm ignoring it all. Aunt Sarah is looking into becoming my legal guardian. It's complicated since my parents won't voluntarily give up custody, but we're exploring options. I'm so grateful for her support through all this. Therapy has also been hugely helpful in processing everything. I'm learning to set boundaries and recognize that I deserve better treatment. It's a journey, but I finally feel hopeful about my future. Thank you again for all your kind words and advice. I'll update again if there are any major developments. Update 2. Hello everyone. It's been about 3 months since my last update, and I wanted to share some recent developments. The biggest news is that Aunt Sarah is now officially my legal guardian. It was a long and sometimes ugly process, but we finally got it done. My parents initially fought it hard, trying to paint me as a troubled teen, and Sarah as an interfering relative. But our lawyer was able to present evidence of their neglect, including testimony from teachers and family friends who had witnessed their favoritism over the years. What finally tipped the scales was my grandparents threatening to cut my parents out of the will entirely if they didn't cooperate. It's bittersweet. I'm relieved to have stability, but it hurts that my parents gave me up so easily for money. Part of me had hoped they'd fight to keep me because they actually wanted me, not just to save face. But I guess that was too much to expect. The day the guardianship was finalized was surreal. I sat in the courtroom, listening to the judge make it official that Sarah was now legally responsible for me. My parents sat on the other side, looking angry and defeated. They didn't even look at me as they left the courtroom. I cried later that night, not because I wanted to go back, but mourning the parents I wished I'd had. In happier news, Lily had her baby, a little girl named Emma. She invited me to meet my niece, which was a nice gesture. I was nervous going to the hospital, unsure how to act around Lily and Jake. But the moment I saw that tiny baby, all the awkwardness melted away. Holding Emma for the first time was amazing. She has Lily's eyes and Jake's nose. As I rocked her, I made a silent promise to be the best aunt I could be. I want Emma to always know she's loved and valued, no matter what. Lily and I are slowly rebuilding our relationship. We text regularly now, sharing funny memes and swapping stories about our days. She's been respectful of my boundaries and seems genuinely committed to being a better sister. Last week, she even stood up to our mom when she tried to guilt-trip me through Lily. It meant a lot to have her in my corner. Our parents are not handling things well. They're telling everyone who'll listen that I'm a rebellious teen who abandoned the family. Most people see through it, but it still stings to hear the lies they're spreading. They've made a few attempts to contact me, vacillating between guilt trips and love bombing. One day it's tearful voicemails about how much they miss me, the next it's angry texts accusing me of being selfish. I'm maintaining no contact for now. Aunt Sarah has been amazing through all of this. She's helping me apply for colleges and encouraging me to pursue my interests. We've been exploring photography together. She even bought me a nice camera for my half-birthday. For the first time, I feel like I have a real support system and someone who genuinely cares about my well-being. School has been going well. My grades have actually improved now that I'm not constantly stressed at home. I've joined the yearbook committee and am considering running for student council next year. It feels good to be involved in making friends. I'm still in therapy, working through the years of emotional neglect. Some days are harder than others. There are times I find myself slipping into old patterns of trying to earn love and approval. But I'm learning to recognize those impulses and remind myself that I'm worthy of love just as I am. Last week, I had a breakthrough in therapy. We were discussing my childhood, and I remembered a time when I was about 7. I'd drawn a picture for my mom, excited to show her. But she was busy fawning over Lily's report card and brushed me off. I remember crying in my room, thinking if I could just be more like Lily, maybe they'd love me too. Revisiting that memory was painful, but it helped me see how long I've been carrying this hurt. I'm working on healing that little girl inside me, who just wanted to be seen and loved. Looking ahead, I'm cautiously optimistic about the future. I'm researching colleges and thinking about career paths. Photography is a real passion, but I'm also interested in psychology, maybe even becoming a counselor to help other kids who feel unseen. For now, I'm taking things one day at a time. I'm learning to enjoy the little moments, laughing with friends at lunch, the satisfaction of nailing a difficult photo shot, quiet evenings watching movies with Aunt Sarah. It's not always easy, but I'm starting to believe that I deserve happiness and love. Thank you all again for your support throughout this journey. It's been a difficult few months, but I'm hopeful about what lies ahead. I'm not sure what the future holds with my parents or how our relationship might evolve, but I'm committed to prioritizing my own well-being and surrounding myself with people who value me for who I am. I still have moments of doubt and sadness, wondering why I wasn't enough for my parents to love. But then I look at the life I'm building now, with a guardian who supports me, a sister who's trying to make amends, and friends who accept me as I am. And I realize that maybe, just maybe, I've found where I truly belong. I'll update again if there are any significant changes, but for now, I'm focusing on healing and growing. Thank you all for being part of this journey with me.